Well, hello, everyone. My name is Robyn Roots. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Nursing Narratives. I'm so excited today because I have a special guest with us, Miss Marla. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's a pleasure to meet you. I have never met you before, but I tell you, we put out a request for some unique people that had some amazing stories because, as you guys know, this is Women's History Month. And so I'm really celebrating women, and we're glad to have you on the show. And the people that don't know me, because we got your audience as well as my audience. Again, I'm Robyn Roots. I'm a nurse by day and a film producer by night. Mm-hmm. And I'm so excited because the two marry so well together. I love storytelling. I love to hear people's journey. And then everybody's story is important. It helps somebody. And I think that's something that in this day and age, we're getting into documentaries. We're getting into just really sharing and being more vulnerable. So I know you can really speak on that. So why don't you tell the audience a little bit about you?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Marla Mervis-Hartmann. I'm creator of Love Your Body, Love Yourself. I'm a Reiki master. I'm here in Maui. I'm a mama to an amazing 11-year-old and a wife. And I'm a coach and a speaker. And I tend to work with people who struggle with food issues, body image issues, and a lot of people who are wanting to take care of themselves better, right? That there's something in the way of them fully being who they are, whether it's coping mechanisms, whether it's addiction, whether it's trauma, and getting them to the place where they can meet themselves and actually love themselves into the place of fullness within themselves. So that's what I love to do. And that inspires me to show up again and again and again.
Well, we appreciate that. Tell us a little bit more about Reiki.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know, Reiki, it's a healing modality. So it's a hands-on healing modality. It's also a spiritual practice. It's a way of being. It's a way of living. So if we share it very, very simply, it is the energy of unconditional love. So as a Reiki master, I can bring in channel this energy and share it with you. I can do it long distance. I can do it on you in person. And it releases stress in your body so that your body can heal itself. So it's an amazing practice, self-practice. It's amazing practice because when I'm giving to someone, I'm also receiving. And it releases, like I said, it's releasing stress physically, mentally, emotionally, and it releases that stress so that we can be who we are, because we're not our stress, right? Sometimes we're so caught up in stress and chronic stress and living that we think, oh my gosh, this is who I am. It is not.
It is not. Yeah. How long have you been doing this?
I've been doing Reiki for over 20 years. I've been teaching and practicing for over 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah. I say that because I have a nurse friend of mine that just got into Reiki, and she's going to be opening up a place here in Richmond. And I remember when she was, studying and taking the courses, I was just amazed because she was explaining it to me, and she said, Miss Robyn, as soon as it opens, I'm going to call you because this will really make a difference. And I was, I'm not going to say I was skeptical, but I was like, really? And I said, I think I've seen some shows about it, but it's not really talked about much. We hear more about massages and yoga, meditation. But as far as Reiki, I don't know anybody that's had that shared that experience with me.
Right. Well, my Reiki master, Carmen Lorino, is actually a nurse.
Okay.
20, 30, 40 years. She's retired now. But she brought a lot of the Reiki and a lot of the healing into her community as a nurse. So
I bet that helped a lot.
Oh yeah. I mean, help with her own and help with being able to give something, right? And I know so many nurses are giving so much that it's so draining, and to be able to open up and be able to give through yourself rather than of yourself. So the energy of love coming through. So it's not feeling like and that's how we all feel, right? We feel like life, there's so many people people that need and desire. And it's like, I'm just this little person. I can't do everything.
Do everything.
But the
Yeah.
Reiki, the love of God, the love of, can flow through. And it's not about me giving. It's about me being open to share.
That's powerful. And I think it's right on point for the discussion today, talking about the effects of COVID on our mental and physical health. Tell me a little bit about your practice pre-COVID and your practice post-COVID.
Yes. So pre-COVID, I was in Los Angeles and I was doing a lot of work in person. So I was doing a lot of healing, body work, massage. I was doing a lot of classes, a lot of women's workshops, everything in person, right?
Right.
A lot of online as well, because I have clients all over the world, right? However, when COVID came, it just shut everything down. So what I found is a lot of people reaching out to me, will you teach me Reiki? And I'm like, okay, well, I guess we're doing this online now, which for me, I really had a block around, because I really feel like doing it in person is a great, right? It is hands-on, right? However, there was such this call, this eagerness, this desire, longing to take care of themselves and to tap into this practice. And then I found a lot of people coming to me. I mean, let's face it, COVID, what they call it, the COVID 20, what do they call it? COVID 25, everyone was gaining a lot of weight. So there was desire, like, oh my gosh, Marla, like, I'm really out of control with, like, it brought a lot of people's food stuff up to the surface, right? It brought a lot of
stress too, probably.
Yeah, they're stressed, they're coping, they're emotional eating, they're, feeling out of control. We were all in so much stress. So our coping mechanisms came up to the top, right? To rest. And some people just dove in and went into their addictive patterns as a way to deal. And, there's something to say about that, right? I mean, there's coping mechanisms for a reason to help us cope. It's just when, and so, I think we all know what our coping mechanisms are. However, it's when it gets out of control. And then for a lot of people, it's stayed, right? After COVID, they're like, gosh, I'm still doing the thing, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of us gained a lot of weight because we were working at home too, sitting still. I was so used to walking all over the hospital, and then I'm stuck at this desk. They got more work out of me at home, I think, than if I was at the hospital, because you bring all your snacks around your computer at home and you just work, and before you know it, you've been sitting for 4 hours. Where at work, you got all these meetings to go to and stuff like that. So I think everybody kind of, the activity level dropped. But with me being a nurse turned filmmaker, I was able to catch COVID in real time. And I made a film called 2020 Year of the Nurse. And that film, we talked about COVID and how it collided with Black Lives Matter while we was actually home and the whole world was watching. And then dealing with discrimination in the healthcare field and also our mental health. Because this was a time where we saw so many people get sick and they passed away. Usually when they come to the hospital, we can do something to make them better and make their quality of life better. But this was a time where we felt like we was out of control. We could not, contain this virus. So I want to share the trailer, and then I got some questions for you after this. We'll see if I can get it going, y'all. Because
you can.
You think I can? Okay.
I do.
I love when people are all positive. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. Let's see. Can y'all see that? Can you see that on that end? Okay. Let me know if you can hear it too.
I don't think people will ever be able to grasp what New York was unless they were there. To walk down the ER and see stretchers in the hallways, and you don't know if patients are alive or dead.
It took a couple of weeks to realize how people presented. What you found out is that you can predict who was going to die.
And I'm not talking about just nurses. I'm talking doctors. I'm talking environmental staff, case managers, social workers, people out because they're sick with this. So my fear was, am I next?
A lot of those nurses will die from this because they do not have the appropriate equipment. And then,
first off, if you haven't made money with AI yet, don't worry. AI is the biggest wealth.
I'm not sure why it jumped.
came
Okay.
wow, we were the most trusted profession. We thought we were the most loved as well.
Hold on, y'all.
For Black people, two pandemics collided. On May 25th, 2020, the Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin killed George Floyd.
All of this stuff has been going on for decades. The only difference is that it's being filmed.
It is very difficult to deal with the pandemic and the Black Lives Matter movement. Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd. We've all had to face the difficulties that led up to this movement.
People do not realize how mentally and physically exhausted the profession is.
Mental health for me right now is hidden behind a smile and a happy face.
I'm quick to tell people, oh, you need to go see somebody. You know, they got medication for that. And meanwhile, I'm sitting here suffering in silence.
I'm trying to get back to you. So
Wow.
what do you think of that?
Wow, that's so intense.
Yeah, that's the trailer from the documentary. That's just a small snippet of what the nurses were going through during COVID.
And what do you find they're experiencing now? So post-COVID, where are these people that you have? How are they? Have they gone to see help? Have they taken sabbaticals? Have they learned? Like, what has been their journey? I'm sure it's all very different, but what, as a whole, what do you see?
A lot of us as nurses, you going through a lot of ups and downs because we lost a lot of our peers to COVID, and then coming back into the environment that was still uncontrolled, and we still got COVID out here now. So it's a lot of mixed emotions. A lot of nurses and medical staff have left the profession, and the world is feeling that impact because if you call to go to the doctor now, it could be a couple months. That's why so many people are going to patient first or going straight to the hospital. They can't get in to see their physicians or anything now. Everything is kind of backed up. So I think the nurses as a whole, some of them are still, they got a lot of health challenges too, because they stayed in the fight. And I've had nurses that had heart surgery, nurses that suffered, COVID multiple times and just have all kind of complaints, still not smelling anything. And that's so important in our field. We smell a lot before we actually see what it is. You can tell something's going on in the body by the smell. So it's been traumatic for a lot of people. People are moving to other levels of nursing, more in the academic space or leadership, because they still want to be a nurse, but they may have a lot of trauma from that. Mm-hmm. And I tell people what I hear the most is like survivor's remorse, because you lost a lot of people that normally wouldn't have passed, under regular circumstances. You got athletes coming in and all of a sudden they're down and then they pass away from COVID because it was moving so fast. So it's a lot of, because it's still fairly new. It's not 20 years old. And so I think it happened in 2020. We're in 2024, and this is the month of COVID, March. And so you have a lot of people mourning deaths of family members that they missed, couldn't go to the funeral. They couldn't go in the hospital. They was not present like we do as a society. As soon as somebody call and say somebody's in the hospital, you take off going to the hospital just to build support. And that was something we didn't have. So we did get counseling. we did have resources, but a lot of stuff didn't stay long enough.
Right.
You know, it's like you got counseled and get back to work, but we all still need counseling, not just the nurses, but society, because some people still saying, well, what was that? What was that? We did everything you said, and I still lost my mom. I still lost my dad. I did everything you said. So it's one of those things that I think we will always have, PTSD from it. And I think it's therapeutic to talk about it, how you feel, because even with it colliding with the George Floyd incident, that was traumatic for a lot of kids too.
Yeah.
I remember my grandkids going back to school and having to readjust to being sociable with their friends because they had watched some of these racial tensions that they didn't know how to process. So I think it impacted everybody. And so turning the question back to you, how do you feel what you are doing for people for self-care and resilience? What impact have you seen? I heard you talk about people requesting it more during COVID, but now, a couple years out, do you tell me how that experience has been for you as a leader in this profession?
There's one thing that it's like we all were in it together.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you were talking about the nurses, is just feeling like the importance of nurses getting together and sharing their stories. And it's like, we all have a story. We all have every human being has a COVID-19 experience to share.
Yes.
And there's something about that level of like, no matter what, we all can come together and share in our experience and what happened to us. I will hear a lot of people say, well, that was the benefit of COVID, right? People, because I'm in Maui, I probably would not have moved to Maui had it not been, I wouldn't have been able to do my work here the way that I'm doing it. So that is one thing that's happened to me. I have found that people are a lot more resilient. Mm-hmm. They've gone through something. They've met themselves in very uncomfortable ways.
That's for sure.
And because we were so contained, we couldn't get away from it.
Right. And you couldn't get away from your family because
you get away. And I tell you what, like, and I think that you're right when you say like what this have done, like this is a lasting effect. So it's brought a lot of these things up to the surface. So when we think about loss and we think about feeling lonely, we think about all these people who didn't have, and the compassion that we have for people, the ache to support ourselves and to have more compassion for themselves. I mean, I've always been someone who's very devoted and committed to self-care. It's part of my nature. It's part of what I share with my clients. Like whether it's, for me, it can be a lot of prayer, a lot of, I'm very embodied. I like to move my body and I like to support people to get in their bodies because they're so stuck in their head. They don't know how to literally use their body to release stress and let some of this go, because sometimes it's just built up and just needs to be released, right? So I feel that there's an eagerness to heal. There's an eagerness, there's a desire. At least that's what has come into my world, right?
Right.
Like guide me, lead me, support me to get out of this really negative space that I'm in.
Yeah. And that's so powerful because I think so many of us can get stuck in our head. And if you don't have techniques to get out of your head, to get out of your way so that you can be functional, it can be very scary for people. And I'm a spiritual person, so I make sure I read and I spend time with myself and with God to get guidance before I start my day, because anything can happen in a day's time, anything. Mm-hmm. And so I want to be able to respond and not react, because if I don't start that way, sometimes, you know, it's just energy coming at you and you like got to process, okay, how am I going to handle this? Because it's just 8 o'clock in the morning. And, you know, yeah, you're like, oh my goodness, how can somebody wake up feeling like that and, you know, spewing it on you? And I'm like, oh my goodness, how does that happen? So I have to make sure I'm positioned and I'm settled in myself and I'm comfortable and I can just like take in what you got to say and give a good response. And so I think so many people got into other ways to handle all of the stress that was going on, and then, you know, being able to maintain it since we're a couple years out. But in saying that, I'm going to see if anybody's got any questions for us on social media. I know Archie is monitoring it, so I'm not sure. I didn't get any questions over here. You got any on your page, Marla? Anybody got any questions for us? They can type it in the comments or chats. But if not, we'll just keep right on talking. Because you said a lot of great stuff. And I've got to call my girlfriend Lakeisha and ask her, how's it going? And I'm going to give her your information.
Fabulous.
Since you've been in it forever. And she's ready to like leave bedside and go into this full time. And she's like, this is so needed. So I said, as soon as you get going. So Archie says no questions yet. So we're just going to kind of wrap things up. And I just want you to kind of share some things that you would recommend people that may not have any kind of practice to help with, you know, loving their body and loving themselves. What advice would you give them to start? Because, you know, sometimes getting people to take care of themselves because they're taking care of everybody else can be challenging.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I like 9,000 things popped into my head. And I would say that in this world of go, 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 do, do, do,
mm-hmm.
I want to give one person one more thing to do. I would say that the most powerful and the lesson that I'm learning over and over and over again, like I'm being hit over the head, is slow the beep down. Slow down. We don't have to do everything. We don't have to listen to everything. We don't have to show up for everyone. We need to take time. We need space in our head. We need to go at a slower pace. We need to sit with ourselves. We need to, you know, the breath. We need to feel our breath, be present.
Yeah.
And you know, quite honestly, Robyn, that can be scary because when we first,
that's what I was thinking.
When we first slow down, the things that come up, and that's why we keep running.
That's why we keep running. Yeah.
It's not, I don't know that either, right? It's like the first thing is like, oh, I got to keep running because if I stop,
my body face reality of life.
I'm going to feel my feelings. I'm going to feel my emotions. My body's going to tell me to slow down even more. I'm not going to do it. My body's going to tell me, don't eat that thing. Or it's going to say, hey, you're hungry. You better eat. Right. I did not want to feel. And I think that's the human condition. And I'll tell you what, just a moment with yourself. Do something and pleasurable for yourself. And I don't mean like instant gratification pleasure, but something that nourishes you. Something,
like what? Give us some examples.
Oh gosh, like maybe you like to sit for a moment and look at the sunset. Maybe you maybe you love your tea or your coffee and you let yourself sit and enjoy it instead of slurping it down while you're in the car, listen to this and talking to that person and chatting you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
Look around, take in what is present in your world, right?
Now, see, what I started doing during COVID was I did some gardening, and then I started walking every day because I just had to get out the house, which I was going to the gym prior to COVID. And then I heard this show and they talked about getting close to nature. Take your shoes off, get in the grass, you know, go and pick some leaves. And so I was doing all this stuff and it really made a difference because it's like saying that is the most harmony you're going to ever get is when you're walking like in the woods and just listening to the birds and, listen to the leaves falling, all this stuff. And I really did feel that because, like you said, you're in your head. You're thinking about all the stuff you got to do. But when I was outside walking and really getting into nature and walking in the grass, it was a different feel for me. So I got my granddaughters doing it now and, playing outside. And it's, it's really relaxing. So.
Nature, right? Nature. Without a podcast on in your ears.
Right. Just really absorbing. That's why I love going to the beach. I can sit there all day and watch the waves, and I can walk away. I don't intentionally be thinking, but I get the best ideas during that time. Yeah. Stuff will come to me and I said, oh, wow, this is good.
Yeah. Then we don't have to ask every human being their opinion.
Right.
We can actually slow down and listen to our internal guidance.
That's right. Well, do you have any parting words for our guests?
I'm so glad you're here. It means that you're wanting to support yourself. I'm so grateful for this time that we can come together and support each other to care for ourselves and to care for each other. I think every time we show up in this way, our body, our being, our spirit hears that we're here. We're here for ourselves. And all these moments is like a muscle leaning in more to our hearts. So thank you for having me, Robyn.
It's been a pleasure. I learned a lot, and I'm sure our audience learned a lot. And I just thank you for coming on Nurse Narratives. And we just enjoyed this for Women's Month because I know it's so many women. We just don't put ourselves first. So I think you gave some great nuggets, and we thank you. And I hope everybody will tune in next week. We're going to be having another special guest, and we got to have you come back, and you're going to have to stand back there and show us some techniques on this because, like I say, I've heard about it, but I've never seen it done. And I don't know anyone that can tell me, their experience with it. So I'm going to have to do a little more research.
Great. Yeah. I'll maybe I'll put below, I'll put a free meditation that I have.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, and just enjoy Maui and all of that. We're over here in this cloudy Richmond today. I thought it was going to rain. How's your weather over there?
It's been raining too, which is fabulous.
Do you have a parrot or bird back there?
It is so loud. The birds are so loud here.
Okay, because I've been hearing it.
A bird? I'm like, no, all of Maui is like a bird sanctuary.
Really?
It's wild, right?
Yeah, I can hear them. I thought it was a cage behind you. That's why I said that. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And we got your contact information in the chat for people that want to reach out to you.
Yes,
and get you some more good business, and they get to, learn how to do this online, which is cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. And we just want to thank the audience for tuning in. All righty. Y'all have a great day.